The Wisdom of Judge Elias, 3 Lessons in Justice. Opening Chapter, The Silence of the Courtroom. Judge Elias Thorne was not a man of noise. In his 40 years on the bench at the Supreme Court of Astoria, he had never raised his voice, never rushed to decision, and never allowed personal emotion to sway his judgment. His face was as calm as granite, his white hair neatly combed back, and his eyes always carried a profound depth of thought. People often said that the law was a machine, but Judge Elias was the man who breathed soul and conscience into that machine. He didn't just apply the law, he sought justice. In his study, filled with old leather-bound books, the lamplight cast shadows on a small statue of Themis, the blindfolded goddess of justice, holding the scales and the sword. Elias understood that the sword was for punishment, the scales were for measurement, but the missing element in the statue was the heart, the very thing he believed any great judge must possess. Today, Elias was set to tackle 3 cases that the legal community deemed impossible, cases where the statutes of law seemed inadequate to render a truly satisfactory verdict. Lesson 1. Justice is not just about winning or losing. The case, the Potter's Will. The first case was an inheritance dispute between 2 half-brothers, Lucas and Marcus, following the death of their father, a renowned ceramic artist. The background. The father had left a peculiar will. He did not divide his assets by money, but by his art. The will explicitly stated, Lucas, the elder son, a successful businessman with little interest in pottery, would inherit the pottery workshop and all raw materials, an asset of significant commercial value. Marcus, the younger son, a struggling artist who had spent his life assisting his father, would inherit the old kiln and an unfinished ceramic vase named the Missing Sunset, an asset nearly worthless commercially. The dispute. Lucas sued, demanding the court annulled the will, arguing it was outrageously unfair and irrational. He contended that he was the elder son, and allowing Marcus, who lacked business acumen, to inherit a practically valueless portion was an insult. He demanded an equal split of the money from selling the workshop and materials. Marcus did not wish to sue, but he pleaded to keep the kiln and the vase, knowing it meant a life of hardship. The law and the pressure. Standard law dictates that a valid will must be upheld. However, the law also allows review in cases where a will is clearly irrational or violates basic principles of fairness. Lucas's lawyers argued sharply, focusing on market value and equal inheritance rights. Elias's intervention. After listening to hours of debate on market value, Judge Elias asked both brothers to stand. Elias addressed Lucas. Mr. Lucas, your father's will explicitly lists the value of the unfinished vase as my heart. Do you understand the meaning of that? Lucas replied, Your Honor, that is merely a nonsensical romantic statement. Its value, if sold, does not exceed a few $100s. Elias turned to Marcus. Mr. Marcus, if I allow you to keep the kiln and the vase, but require you to forfeit all other claims, would you agree? Marcus was close to tears. Your Honor, to me that kiln is where my father taught me everything. That vase is his final work. They are priceless. I beg to keep them. Elias banged his gavel, his face composed, but his voice ringing with certainty. The court has considered the facts. This is a will that is not lawful in monetary terms, but perfectly lawful in spiritual terms. The father did not divide assets, he defined the duties of his 2 sons. Mr. Lucas inherits the workshop and raw materials. This is commercial property, accompanied by the responsibility to maintain the family name in business. Marcus inherits the kiln and the vase, the Missing Sunset. This is the artistic legacy, accompanied by the responsibility to complete his father's final work. The verdict. The will is upheld. However, the court issues an addendum. Lucas must provide a percentage of the workshop's annual profits to Marcus so he can live and complete the vase. and Marcus must display the completed vase at Lucas's workshop as a symbol of family collaboration. Justice is not about dividing everything equally. Justice is about ensuring each person receives what they truly need to fulfill their purpose and keeping the spiritual legacy of the deceased alive. The lesson learned. True justice is not the mechanical division of material wealth, but the honoring and maintenance of the law's deepest, most underlying purpose. Lesson 2. The truth is not always obvious. The case, the petty thief and the watch. The second case was a criminal trial. A man named Samuel, a construction worker with a prior record, was accused of stealing a priceless antique gold pocket watch worth tens of thousands of dollars from the home of a wealthy collector. The evidence. Testimony. The homeowner and housekeeper swore that only Samuel, who had been repairing the fence on the day of the theft, had the opportunity. Physical evidence. Police found a tiny fragment of thread from Samuel's coat caught on the forced open window. Motive. Samuel was deeply in debt. The proceedings. All evidence pointed against Samuel. His lawyer had nearly given up. Samuel, a tired and frightened man, insisted only, "I didn't take it, I swear to God. I walked past that window, but I didn't pry it open." The prosecutor, an ambitious young man, presented a powerful case, focusing on the defendant's prior record and desperate circumstances. Elias's scrutiny. During the trial, Judge Elias repeatedly asked questions about the watch that seemed irrelevant. Elias asked the homeowner, "Please describe the watch again. What was its unique feature?" Homeowner, "It's solid gold with a tiger's head engraved on the lid, and it chimes distinctly on the hour." Police chief, "Where was the watch found, Your Honor?" "It has not been found, Your Honor. We believe the defendant sold it to pay off his debts." Elias looked at Samuel. "If you truly did not take it, can you help the court describe exactly what it looked like? Focus on details not in the police file." Samuel closed his eyes. "It was heavy, and when I saw it on the table, I remember clearly the tiger's head on the lid was worn smooth on one side, seemingly from too much handling. But what I remember most is that it wasn't running. The hands were stuck at 3:15. My father was a watchmaker, and I always noticed those details." The reversed verdict. Elias ordered a 24-hour recess. The next morning, Elias made a shocking declaration. "The court has verified the details of the watch that was actually lost, which we have recovered. That watch was in perfect working order, and the hands were not stopped at 3:15. Furthermore, the tiger engraving on the lid was completely intact." He turned to the prosecutor. "Two things could be true. Either Samuel is lying, or the stolen watch is not the watch Samuel saw." Elias continued, "We found the watch Samuel described, a different, older watch, broken with a worn engraving, kept in a different drawer. That watch was missing a week prior, and the homeowner never reported it, thinking it was worthless." The truth behind the matter. Samuel had indeed broken into the window to retrieve a forgotten tool, but upon seeing the old watch, the one he described, he took it, thinking it was discarded and he could repair it. The homeowner, seeing the forced window, mistook which watch was missing and immediately assumed his most valuable gold watch was gone, blaming Samuel based on his record. The final judgment. "Mr. Samuel, the court finds you not guilty of the charge of stealing the gold watch. The objective truth proves you never touched it. However, you are guilty of the lesser charge of breaking and entering and theft of the lesser valued property, the old watch." The sentence. "Given the undue pressure you have endured and the fact that the court used your testimony to uncover the objective truth, I sentence you to 90 days of community service." The truth is not always the most obvious or the most agreed upon scenario. The real truth lies in the details that only the one who was truly present can know, and the judge must have the patience to find it. The lesson learned. The judge's wisdom is the ability to distinguish between the presumed truth and the objective truth, and never to allow a prior record or social prejudice to stand for a fair investigation. Lesson 3. Judgment is not merely execution of the law. The case, the burden of the surgeon. This was the most difficult, causing a major split in the community. A civil suit against a prominent surgeon, Dr. Helen Carter, for severe emotional distress and wrongful death, leading to the demise of a young patient, Max. The background. Max was a 12-year-old boy with a rare heart condition waiting for a heart transplant. Dr. Carter was the surgeon in charge of the waiting list. The incident. A suitable heart arrived, but simultaneously another young boy, Leo, age 10, was also failing.